listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith. Johnson.
The AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AFTERBUZZ TV's Rizzoli Isles After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Rizzoli Isles After Show.
Hey, what's up, guys? Bing is for doing, and what are we doing? We are doing the Rizzoli Isles Summer Finale After Show. I'm your host, Krisily Kennedy, and before we get into the nitty-gritty tonight, let's introduce my fabulous co-hosts.
I'm Roqui, Theus.
How are we, ladies?
We're good. I mean, I'm good.
Collectively is fine.
We now speak for each other. We're all good.
Yes.
What's everybody thinking about the finale tonight?
I won't even explain right now.
I thought it was extremely predictable.
Wait,
Once it started, I didn't predict the crime and who's going to be involved based on last week, but once it started today, it was just like from the second minute in. I mean, you even called it Krisily.
Yeah, Krisily was on it today.
Well, for all of our AFTERBUZZ fans that have been listening to us week after week, since Dennis came on, I mean, the first thing, of course, we have to is the elephant in the room. We got to talk about the crime. We got to talk about Dennis. For all of the followers that have listened to us each week, we've kind of talked about how Dennis was a creep.
He's such a creep.
And been sort of waiting for him to come back.
Well, and I kept noticing every single time Maura had a scene in her office, that hand was still there, that creepy hand. And like, who gives a person a hand sculpture? Dennis does. We kind of thought he was creepy, and that hand was always there. And I never thought that it would play such a crucial part in the mystery. But I mean, we'll talk about the fact that obviously the show opens with a sculptor, and we see this sculpture of a body which has a dead person in it.
Yes. Who
I thought the first person that was being sculpted looked a little bit like Bruce Jenner.
Which it was a woman, so I mean,
Bone structure maybe. I don't know. It just seemed a little bit like Bruce Jenner.
you did.
It was really funny.
It was the first thing you said. And as soon as I saw that, at first I thought it was cake mix, and I was like, oh God, someone's going to die in a cake. And then once I saw it was sculpting, I was like, it's Dennis. And then I ruined the entire episode for everyone tonight. So I apologize to my fellow viewers tonight because I kind of ruined it from the beginning.
You don't have to apologize. Yeah.
And we always, every episode, and our viewers and our listeners know, we try and figure it out as we're watching.
Right.
And we're always so proud to say, like, okay, I figured it out, or you figured it out. And this time you figured it out, and we all, as we were watching it, we knew every moment what was going to happen.
Yeah,
and
after you said it, it was completely obvious to anyone watching, any fan watching.
And I was really surprised because I think one of the most amazing thing about the show, and we've talked about it on several different occasions, is that the writers are always so great at keeping you guessing.
Yes.
And this was the first episode where I didn't feel that. And I did go on Twitter and wanted to see what everybody else was thinking, and that was kind of the thought tonight. But, we'll still, it was Dennis. Not happy about it being Dennis, but there were 3 bodies in full that were found, and every single one of them was sculpted, found in children's areas. And Roqui was the only one who had come up with why they were in the children's area.
Yeah, I figured he had some kind of tortured childhood, and those were the places he wanted to go, and never went.
Which I wouldn't have thought of that.
And his mom, you kept mentioning.
Yeah, he kept mentioning his mom, but he would highlight the positive about her and say, like, oh, I had the best mother, and my parents had the best relationship, and they've never, for 30 years they've been in love, and I want a relationship like that. And she would call me every morning on my birthday, and my mother this, my mother that, and it's so crazy because he wrote a book that's about being motivated, and being a winner. And
Release your inner winner.
right. And then he was the most tortured of everybody.
Right.
He was very fake, not genuine at all, and we sense that.
Yeah, he was killing prostitutes that had children.
Yes.
Right, because that's what his mother
That was
was.
his
His
Right.
mother was a
And
prostitute.
on drugs as well.
His mother was Corella, no?
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
The first victim.
Which they found that out because the creepy hand had his mother's hand in it.
Yes.
Wait, what?
That hand that was on the desk,
That was his mother's hand?
Jane took the hand and threw it and saw that there was an actual hand inside the
Right.
sculpted hand because it's just covered in plaster. It's not really.
That's right, because she was missing, or she was
No,
in that
she was
cool
Corella.
refrigerator for 3 months, and he'd been gone 3 months.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense.
So
Well, he said that. He said that
Yeah.
when he had the knife to her neck. He said that you found my mother's hand. So,
Okay, I didn't catch that.
He said the thing that I loved, of course, we're constantly talking about. One of the things we talked about last week in our bonus episode was missing characters. And Rondo came back tonight.
he did.
Rondo comes back. He gets called in to ID the second body. And it was good to see Rondo again. You know, he just shows up and he's happy and he's always helpful for, you know, his $10 or $20 or whatever it is. But it was great to see Rondo called back in tonight. And the crime this week was a little failing for me. I think that we all knew that it was going to be Dennis once the sculpting stuff started coming up.
Way
and
too soon.
yeah, I mean, I'm glad they brought him back, and I'm glad they tied him in somehow because he's been missing for, as we now know, 3 months. But yeah, tonight's crime was a little too predictable for me.
Well, I thought it was really interesting, actually.
So did I.
I thought it was a great twist. I thought it was brilliant how they brought him back and put him in the crime like that, but it was just predictable.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to watch, but boring for the mind, I guess.
Yeah.
The actual story behind it was interesting. I wish it
Right.
wasn't Dennis, and I wish it didn't, it seemed so obvious from the get-go. Because if you're a fan, you obviously listen, intently in each episode, and we remembered that Dennis is a sculptor. We ask about this hand that's been sitting on our desk every single week, and the first thing that came to mind when they even uttered sculpture was Dennis.
Well, the thing that I did find intriguing was that Maura had no idea. Like, Maura didn't see the creepiness that everyone else did, and she
No.
truly really liked this guy. And it was very, for us crime fans out there, anybody that watches Dexter knows that Dexter's sister fell in love with the ice truck killer, and that was a huge storyline.
Spoiler alert before you say things like that.
Oh, come on, that was seasons
Krisily.
ago. That's not a spoiler alert.
It's
That's
just
seasons ago.
Spoiler all night.
No.
Well, if you've never seen it, then it's a spoiler.
Well, if you're not a Dexter fan, but if you are, you've watched all the seasons and you would know that that happened. And to be somebody that is in crime, that deals with it every day, and to fall in love with a serial killer, I mean, that has to question your judgment. And
Yeah, and book smart, but no common sense.
and we've said that before. She's
Right.
brilliant, but when
Right.
it comes to real life stuff, not so much sometimes.
And those people exist in the real world.
Yes.
They do.
Very smart.
It was so interesting to see, though, too, when she was called in to be part of the interrogation of Bear, who they initially thought was the killer, that she was the one who was trained in finding, sociopaths and things like that to see if this guy was actually a serial killer. And she was like, no, he doesn't seem like that. He's not, a sociopath. He's not a recluse. He's all of these things. And then at the end, we find out that they're not all recluses, and that
Yes.
what was the quote that you liked?
This was my favorite part of the show tonight. Rizzoli said, they're not all reclusive monsters.
Right.
And meaning, they're not all hidden, creepy guys who, you would think was a murderer.
Right, they're just out there.
They're right under your nose, and that goes to show how much you have to be careful and trusting people and letting people in your life.
Well, clearly, I mean, Maura was
Yeah.
literally swooning over this man who was ready to sculpt her. After
And
he killed her.
And the reason he wanted to actually kill her, because we had said, it came up, well, she's not a prostitute, and he's been killing prostitutes and prostitute mothers. So she brought him back to life
Right.
when he tried to kill himself. And, it's pretty crazy. All she was doing was saving his life originally, and he tried to take hers for it.
And she said she hates working on live people, so she will most likely never save another person. She will never work
True.
on live people
Or
again.
date. Or date.
Knowing Maura, she is going to be traumatized for the rest of her life, and she will. it'll affect her work, I'm sure.
Or at least another 5 episodes.
Yes, at least another 5.
Yeah.
Lydia was back tonight.
Lydia.
Of course she was back. We knew it. We knew.
But,
we knew.
I mean, not only was she back, but she was, well, she had a fake labor moment.
Yes.
At first.
So dramatic, everything with her.
She's starving for attention. I mean, we saw her
And
mom,
a family.
So
right.
We know.
Yeah, I mean, she's had it rough.
Her and Dennis, I hope she doesn't become a murderer or anything, but...
No, she's definitely had it rough. They showed her mom. They showed that she really didn't want her in the house. She had rented out a room and said, you're going to have to share. But, you know, it was also, they brought a lot of things back tonight. So it was good because she goes into labor, or kind of labor, the first time, and they bring Tommy back. And I was really surprised that Tommy had no idea about the baby.
Yeah, he was completely surprised.
Well, Lydia's been with the dad for, I'm sure, a lot of her pregnancy.
But no, I mean, okay, your sister shows up pregnant, or your sister's ex shows up pregnant. You wouldn't call your sister or brother, I should say, and say hello. Like, your ex just showed up and she's huge.
Yeah, it's a little strange that nobody was like, so by the way, she stopped by and said it could be one of 2 people. You're one of them. So how about that?
Maybe they didn't want to give him such bad news, like, while he was away.
Like, he was away, what, painting houses? Like, that's what he said he was doing when he got called to come in.
Right. It's not like he was in Florida like the dad. You know what I mean? They just called him and he needed to show up and he was there. So clearly we just don't see Tommy, but he's clearly there. I was just really surprised that no one had called Tommy and been like, Lydia's pregnant.
Well, by the way, he seemed a little bit not all too bright tonight. I don't know if they dumbed him down a little bit or what, but he just seemed like they don't want to trouble the troubled one already, because he seemed like he was, I don't even know where his head was tonight. He was like, and he had a weird accent. And
he did have a really weird accent.
Like, boyish, heavy Boston, weird accent.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a Boston accent at all.
Okay.
Any of us Boston fans listening, it was not a Boston accent.
East Coast accent.
It seems like he was supposed to be Italian, but like painted houses. I don't even know.
He was very... In Tommy, we know, is a character that's been in a lot of trouble a lot, and he's not always on every episode, but we've seen him get arrested. We've seen him in trouble. We know he did time, but he definitely was off tonight. Like, there was something missing.
He was too animated.
Yeah.
He was a heightened version of himself, which was
Yeah.
very strange, and maybe because he hasn't been on the show in a while and, like, came back with a vengeance. I don't really know. Or they said play it up, but... He's the only one in the Italian family with an Italian accent.
Yeah, it was. It was awkward.
It's weird.
But Lydia finally does go into labor, and she won't let the EMTs near her. No. She wants to have the baby around the family. Jane,
the baby's family.
Jane was hysterical. She's like, this isn't your family. Like, why are you here? And, you know, part of me feels bad for the tart. Like, she doesn't have anybody. She doesn't know who the baby daddy is.
Angela still feels bad for her. She's even knitting for the baby.
Knitting. She's been knitting a blanket.
But she's still mad. She expressed her feelings to Lydia in this episode, saying, you know, why wouldn't you tell me that? So
yeah. Well, and she did the last time too.
And she also mentioned that, you know, it's not the kid's fault, you know, who brought how he got into this world.
Right.
So I'm doing this blanket for the baby.
And she, you know, she said how she felt to Lydia the last time that they interacted, and this time it was nice to see her say that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to like Lydia, but the baby has no choice. Like, the baby's going to be here and doesn't have a family.
Aww.
We did have a delivery of a baby tonight. We did. And you know, I did. It was nice. I mean, she's Mama Rizzoli. She's not going to.
She's a good mom through and through, regardless of who the child is. So, you know, of course, she's going to be a good mom.
She's also human. She has, like, you know, real emotions, and she gets pissed. So.
But that's why Lydia even said she wanted to bring this baby back to Mama Rizzoli, because she wanted a mom like that herself. So Mama Rizzoli is not going to fail her, obviously, and now not be a good mom.
Well, and then we see the EMTs take her away, and then poof, there's a knock at the door.
It's a baby.
Right.
I don't know. We don't know.
In the same day that the crime is resolved and the baby's born, it's also dropped off and left on the doorstep
of Maura's house.
And Jane seemed really excited. She's like, baby.
She did, which is weird because she doesn't like dresses and she doesn't like hugs. And then
Yeah, but
Oh,
Exactly. Who doesn't like that?
Who doesn't like that?
Who doesn't like a baby?
it just shows her, woman side, feminine side.
Yes, it's also a strange reaction when you find a baby at a door to just be like, oh, yeah, cute.
Yeah, because
and know
it's
exactly
illegal.
who the baby is. And why was the baby not in a basket? Like, I'm sorry, I'm pretty sure you have to
I'm pretty
really
sure.
hold, like, a baby's head because it'll get crushed if it touches anything. It's like a soft little skull. Like, they give lessons in holding babies.
They do.
And this person just dumps the baby.
I'm pretty sure Jane took the baby out of a basket or something.
I don't know.
Really? The baby was just on the welcome mat?
I didn't see the other
baby?
side of the door.
Yeah, they didn't show us all that.
I don't know.
They didn't show us all
Well,
that.
I hope there was a
like-
basket
With like a reverse
or
camera.
something.
And Mama Rizzoli was extremely excited about the baby being there as well.
Yeah.
It was.
All their faces were like,
But we still don't know who the father is.
We still don't know who the father is. We still don't know if Tommy was there for the delivery. We still don't know. Did Lydia, I mean, God forbid, make it through the delivery? You have to
Oh my
assume
God,
that
yeah.
Lydia dropped the baby off at the front door, right?
Yes.
Which means that
With
Tommy,
a name tag? Like, what was on that baby that gave it away that it was exactly that person's baby?
maybe she just assumed.
I think it's a good assumption, but still.
maybe it still had the tag with the last name on it around the foot.
Possibly.
Oh.
I'm just guessing at this point because I have no idea where the baby came from. Like, that's the one thing that confused me the entire episode was the baby.
But would they even put the last name Rizzoli, let's say, on a baby that has no real father yet?
Well, as we learned, Lydia is extremely convincing and loud.
She is.
So I'm sure that she would get her own way. But it has to make you wonder, is Lydia going to come back? Is she
For
giving
sure.
up the baby to them?
Seems like it, but you know what
Lydia
would
will be back.
What would be interesting is if it's not either of their baby. And I mean, she seems a little hussy-ish, so she could have gotten around with a third person. Who knows?
That is so classic her.
It is.
It
Lydia's
is.
tart.
Classic tart.
It's cut tart. And what if it's not even Lydia's baby? Like, we haven't even gone to the
Wait,
facts that
wait.
it could be a random baby. Like, somebody could have just dropped the baby off to Mama Rizzoli because they know Mama Rizzoli. Like, what if it wasn't Lydia's baby?
So we've come to an agreement that this was the most mind stimulation we got in this episode. Who's the baby and where did it come from?
There was a lot of confusing elements and not so confusing elements to this episode.
And Phil has told us in the past that they try to set things up for you so that you don't have to do as much thinking. So it's like they give it the most obvious facts.
So you can just watch that episode and not feel like you haven't
Right.
seen all of them, so you can't keep watching.
So I have to feel like it's safe for us to assume that it's Lydia's baby, but
I think so.
you just really don't know.
Oh boy.
But we'll find out next season.
We will.
Zoe Niles.
We will. So my first note tonight that I was really excited to take was Frankie makes homicide detective.
You were.
I took the note too.
And then I had to cross it out.
I didn't write that, but what I did write down was Frankie has this in the sack, which is what
Yes.
Maura said, and Jane was like, it's in the bag,
Yeah.
not in the sack. But I didn't write anything else about that.
Which clearly he didn't have. Which,
No.
I mean, they set it up. They got us excited.
They
were
decorated
setting
his
up
desk.
They're the transformer. I mean, they were all ready for Frankie to be detective. And I
yeah.
feel like we all were.
Yeah.
were.
We
He
were
was in a
excited
suit.
about that.
He was all dressed up with nowhere to go.
And it's been nice to see him as more of a part of the team with the homicide detectives. Like, he goes out on the calls with them. He's constantly there with them. He's become a member of the team, whether he is an actual member.
There he is.
But it would have...
Oh, hey.
Yeah,
he was
if you're not watching and you're just listening, in the studio we do have it looping on behind us, so we can kind of look up every once in a while and see them. But it was sad for me that Frankie didn't make detective because I feel like we all kind of want him to at this
Yeah.
point. Like, he's there. We feel like we want him to. He deserves it.
I sensed that he didn't. It just seemed too like, oh, la-di-da, he got it on the finale.
Yeah,
you know,
maybe
of
too
course.
soon, too obvious.
Too obvious. I was waiting to see who the name would be when the chief was announcing it, and I just sensed it wasn't going to be Frankie's, and it then wasn't. It was...
But when they said Riley, I was surprised because this is the drug girl from a couple episodes ago.
She cleans up nicely.
Yeah,
She does.
she does.
And at first, I thought when you were like, "Oh my God, it's her," I thought you meant that it was Frost's ex-girlfriend.
No.
But I was like, no, she was like FBI or CIA or something.
Oh, that's who you thought it was? I was like, what are you talking
I was
about?
really confused by that, but
She never came back.
she never came back either. But then when she took her jacket off and I saw all the tattoos, that's when I realized who it was.
Yeah.
And I mean, clearly she was super undercover.
super
So
undercover. She
undercover.
even got handcuffed and taken out, remember?
And brought into the jail, or not the jail, the precinct.
Yeah, I mean, she was arrested, and Frankie and Frost were both having a really hard time with her coming on as detective because she basically used them to get information to kind of nail this position.
And she's like, you guys better grow up. You guys need to grow up, because they keep going tit for tat with her.
Well, and as they should. I mean, before they found out she was detective, she played both of them. She was dating both of them. And
She was selling drugs, supposedly.
She was a horrible person all around.
She was also a tattoo artist.
Right.
I wonder if she's actually a tattoo artist. She does have a lot of tattoos.
She does. But, I mean, beyond the using them for dating purposes, she did use them to kind of nail the job. So they kind of have a right to bust her chops a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, I respected Frankie more for that, because Frankie's usually the one that kind of gets real quiet and doesn't say anything.
And he was like, I don't understand this detective speak. I'm a lowly police officer.
Yeah.
I answer 911 calls.
They were giving her a really
I guess
hard
it's
time.
a little childish. They'll get over it. But,
They will.
And, you know, she might not last that long.
I
And
think they brought her in, though, like for a reason.
Yeah, maybe.
They added like another female dynamic, because for a while it's really just Rizzoli Isles and then Mama Rizzoli.
Right.
And Jane seemed to have a problem with it.
Of course.
And then-
I mean, she used her little brother. She moved across this apartment from her. Like, I mean, she just kind of stepped on people to get to where she has, where Frankie, he's really kind of worked hard and been in the drudges with the homicide team to get there. So she'll do what she has to make her fit in, because that's what she does. But I also feel like there has to be some kind of spot. I mean, when the captain came over and said to her, there'll never be another Rizzoli. I mean, she had to kind of wonder, does that mean Tommy's never going to make detective? Like, he's never going to be able to fill those shoes.
I thought he was saying another Jane Rizzoli, because I got the feeling that he was sort of like prepping her for, there's another woman around. Sorry.
Okay.
Like, you're not the only woman
female
now.
dynamic.
Yeah. It seemed a little strange to me, though, because it seemed a little ominous, I would say, that he would say that to her, because I know that, you know, there's manipulation and there's that. And he was essentially saying, he was buttering her up for something.
Right.
Well, I mean, they love her, so I'm assuming she's going to just keep moving up and up and up in her career.
But it was really about the brother. The brother didn't get the position, so why butter up Jane about this other woman?
Because he cares about her. And, you know, women can get catty, especially in the workplace, and he just wanted to make sure she knew that she was the head, you know what, in charge.
I think there's something to it. I think I'll just save that for predictions.
I think there's going to be something more to it, too. But before we go on to the next thing, I have to thank you guys all, because all of our viewers, not only have you guys been tweeting me a lot more often, which is so much fun because I love hearing your thoughts. And thank you for the correction, by the way. Somebody corrected me last week because I confused Frankie and Tommy, which I do all the time. I constantly say Frankie when I mean Tommy and Tommy when I meant Frankie. So they corrected me because I did messed the names up last week in one of my top fives. So thank you. But also thank you guys for going out on iTunes. We love to bring you free stuff, and we love to bring you as many shows as we do here on AfterBuzz. And the only thing that we ask you to do in return is to go out on iTunes and rate us, comment, tell a friend, and that keeps the lights on. But it's beyond keeping the lights on. It's so much more fun for us to go on iTunes and see our numbers grow every week. Yes. It's really cool to see the comments and see what you guys have to say. And it's even cooler to see our little bars go up every week, so we get more followers and viewers and listeners, which means that you have fun with us. So thank you for having fun with us, and keep telling us. And I know tonight's our summer finale, but, you know, we'll see you guys soon. So don't you worry. Of course, you know, it's a finale. We know we're coming back, but you just have to talk about Jane and Maura. Like, it's not an episode without talking about the two of them. It was really cool. They acted like 12-year-olds again tonight. And we haven't seen that as much, but because Dennis was back and because Maura was so smitten, Jane was just like on her the entire episode.
My favorite part where she was saying something to her and she's like, "Ooh, hives. That's what happens when you lie."
And Maura's like,
but the fact that they know each other that well You know, it's just so, it's endearing, it's warm. Like, I feel like they're our friends, and I'm like so excited that they're so close. They're the best friends anybody could have. You know, you want to be that close with your friends.
And they just bust each other's chops.
So much funny banter.
It's just, it's brilliant. Like, whether it's about you like him, you don't, he has too much hair, he has this, like, that banter between them is amazing.
Yes.
One of the other things that I thought was crazy, which I was so surprised that they brought up, but they brought up Hoyt in tonight's episode a couple times, and you have to give it to Angie Harmon. Like, she's a great actress, and she looked scared to death at that second scene, the second crime scene. But she looked scared to death because it brought her back to Hoyt. And the first thing she did after she said Hoyt was glance to Maura, and Maura gave her that reassuring look that it's going to be okay.
Yep.
She said he's dead.
Yeah.
And that was, you know, pretty interesting, though, how they found there's a possible copycat or apprentice of his.
Right.
And that Frederick Stone was in the same cell as Hoyt. And then, of course, it was so great that, you know, they caught Frederick Stone in a DUI in another city altogether. And we were all relieved for a minute.
Right. Well, and Hoyt was such a strong character and such a fear for all of them, because it was like their girl. Like, he wanted Jane, and he wanted Jane dead, and he did have an apprentice the second time around. So who's to say he couldn't have another one?
Exactly.
But the fear in her was amazing tonight, both times. Both when she thought about Hoyt, and both when she looked at that hand and it clicked all of a sudden.
When she figured out, what was it, endemol?
Oh, I don't remember.
Whatever that was that he had actually died from.
It was a sedative, apparently.
And they found that in the third victim.
Right.
And they just knew that she put it together.
And the fear in her is just, to me, like,
it was instant and genuine.
Her acting is so genuine and so amazing. And Maura as well. She just always has that endearingness to her with her, and they're just, I love their relationship.
The word is genuine.
Yeah.
And chemistry.
They believe them.
They have great chemistry.
Yeah.
They do.
And Jane is just hilarious.
On many levels. Love their chemistry.
No.
Sorry. I mean, you said it. I didn't have to this time.
It's true. I set you up.
You did set me up for that one. But it is true. It's undeniable, and it makes you want to be their friends.
Yeah.
It makes you feel like you're one of them. You know what I mean? Like, you watch and you're like, your girls, that's your friends, those are the people that you hang out with after you leave the show, which sometimes I think I do, but it's just amazing to see that. And the bickering tonight was back to where it had been in the past, and we hadn't seen that as much, and so maybe more boys will bring that out in them.
Maybe. But one funny thing Maura said tonight was, last time I didn't sleep is because I didn't make my bed. It was just hilarious to me.
I didn't even catch that.
Yeah, it was just that
She
funny.
didn't want to sleep in her bed because she didn't make it?
Yeah. So last time I hadn't slept, it was because I didn't make my bed. And that just goes to show how Maura is.
Well, she's definitely OCD.
She's so
You know what I mean?
I love it.
She is OCD. Nothing is out of place. And Jane doesn't seem to be that way.
No.
I love
Balance
that.
each other.
Yeah, at the end of the episode, Jen's favorite part always is they all come together, they have wine, they sit and they chat.
Tonight, Angela was with them.
Yeah, well,
Knitting.
Angela knitting.
Yes.
Still knitting.
They needed some comfort, though. Some mommy comfort. Poor Maura.
That's cute, though, that they always go home to mom.
They do. And Jane was taking care of Maura this time, which we don't always see. Usually we see Maura taking care of Jane. And tonight, Jane was bringing her over a sandwich and talking about how she wanted to be a ballerina when she grew up. And then she wanted to be the goalie for the Bruins, which, of course, made me happy because all Boston teams win.
Oh, gosh.
But it was cool. You know what I mean? It's that moment of realness, that moment of actual family that's not outside, the Boston PD.
Sure.
Yep. And Angela even said, she was like, wish you girls did something else. Wish you had a different profession.
And that's such a real emotion, especially in society, period, how parents feel when their kids are in the force. It's just scary to go to work every day and you don't know if they're going to come back or...
It is. I mean, they definitely are putting their lives on the line on a daily basis to keep everyone else safe, which is just pretty amazing.
Admirable. I use that word a lot, but
it's true.
Jane is.
Do you guys have any other thoughts on tonight's episode that you want to cover before we go to news and gossip?
Well, we noticed that Casey has not been back.
True.
That's something. Dean obviously hasn't been back.
Right.
We did wonder about Dennis because he was one of those characters we're like, where did he go? Same thing with Tommy. Tommy was back with an accent. And I guess the only thing left would be the dad and Casey that I'm missing here from this. I think
and Maura's mom.
Oh, yeah. Hi. She was a big freaking deal for a while.
I can't believe that they haven't brought her back. And all I can think of is that, and I guess this is part of predictions, but are they going to take her into the next 5 episodes that we're going to have in November?
Well,
I think so. She's got to come back. But it was a little overwhelming these past couple episodes. I don't think she fit anywhere in the storylines.
I agree, because she has a lot in her own story.
Yeah,
right.
So it has to be something that's maybe more Jane focused than Maura focused for her to pop up.
Yeah,
like,
we'll see.
I don't know. We'll see.
She's going to be back, though, for sure. I mean, and the daughter, if she's alive.
Yeah, we still don't even know. They left a lot of, things untied.
A lot of things untied.
But good thing there's some more coming.
5 more, right?
5 more.
News and gossip, Jen. Bring it.
AfterBuzz TV News.
Guys, so here's the news. Ready?
Uh-oh.
So we are in the summer finale. We had that tonight. But
Spoiler alert!
but we will be back for 5 more episodes starting in November. So we will be, off for then, but then we'll be back bringing you guys more after shows in November, talking about our Rizzoli Isles friends. And
AfterBuzz.
Ooh, I like that one.
I do too. That was a good sound.
Yeah.
That was cute.
So we'll be back for that. We're excited. Obviously, that will help us with our predictions because we know we have 5 more episodes to predict.
Yes.
And then another thing, Angie's 40th birthday. We've been talking about it. We wanted to celebrate it. It didn't happen to fall on the night of our show, but it was 4 days ago.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
It was weird that she didn't invite us.
I know, that was rude.
It was weird.
You know what? Our invites...
Should we be offended?
It must have come actually to AfterBuzz, and we just weren't here that day.
Oh, I think that's what it is. So it's Phil's fault. We'll blame it
Phil,
on
did you go to her birthday in place of us?
I did.
See? It's Phil's fault. We'll just blame it on Phil.
Angie, Phil, and Jason Seahorn.
And Buzz.
And Buzz.
Our AfterBuzz mascot.
You know what? That is all the news and gossip that we have for now. So let's move right along.
And
Moving
now,
right along tonight.
Your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
So we got 5 more episodes.
5 more. Casey's
Casey's got to come back.
He's got to come back.
Mom.
Hope, the mom, yeah.
Hope
She's
has
definitely got to come back.
Mom.
I think the dad, Rizzoli dad.
Well, we got to find out who the baby daddy is.
I think that we're going to find out, and he's still going to come back, and I feel another midlife crisis coming on where he's, like, coming back for Angela.
Oh, yes. I think that could possibly happen.
Because she's starting to get her stuff together, and I feel like he's just coming to shake the boat.
That's usually when they come back, is when
Right.
your life's ready to go the way you
don't
want
need
it.
'em.
Exactly.
They come back. Yeah.
That little alarm goes off in their head, and they
It does.
reappear.
She doesn't need me anymore.
Oh, I must appear again.
Yes.
So I think
like
he'll
the
be back.
chase.
Exactly. We'll find out who the baby's dad is.
Casey hopefully will be back.
Casey.
You guys mentioned a pretty cool twist, though, if it wasn't either of Tommy or the dad's baby.
You never know.
That would
you
be
never know.
really
with
Yeah,
this
and
show.
then what happens with the baby that they just dropped off at the Rizzoli family door?
Then it becomes a case.
No.
Well,
Well, it's not homicide, so I don't know. But somebody will figure this out.
Another department.
Yes. Another detective will figure this out.
And that's it. That's all our missing people because we brought Rondo.
Yep.
And guys, make sure to follow us all on Twitter because then you'll know when we come back for AfterBuzz and follow our other shows. You can find me on Twitter at Krisily.
At Roqui_T.
And you can find me at Jen the Jew.
Thank you guys so much for joining us on the summer finale, and we cannot wait till November to see you guys again. Have a good night.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.